This morning, I want to take a deeper look into mindfulness. Well, sometimes we just talk about it sort of just in passing without sort of getting into some of the specifics. So I want to dig a little deeper into mindfulness this morning, and begin by saying that it's not just simply sitting down to meditate. And nor does it occur only during periods when we're formally sitting and practicing watching our breath and so forth. I don't need to tell you that it's a central tenet of Buddhist practice, has been for 2,600 years, and is typically defined as the cultivation of a heightened state of awareness and presence. And this involves the act of bringing our focus to the present moment deliberately, setting an intention, deliberately focusing on the present moment. And attention is the operative word there. It's the foundation upon which mindfulness is built. It requires us to notice and observe our thoughts, our emotions, our physical sensations, any experience which arises without becoming entangled in it. The process of attentive observation, it helps us cultivate a certain sense of detachment and allowing us to see our experiences more objectively. So when you hear me talk about during meditation instruction, observing our experience when we meditate rather than getting entangled in it. This is being more of an observer rather than a participant in our experience. Sometimes I say, not to be the star in our own movie, but rather to watch the movie, to see that we are more than simply the sum total of those experiences as they arise. And mindfulness is important to this practice because it serves as a vital tool for achieving a degree of mental clarity, emotional balance, and spiritual insight. And all of those are necessary to reduce our suffering. And when the Buddha taught it, he really broke it down into five components, separate components that I want to share with you this morning. Um, and just to remind you that in both Buddhist philosophy and in the practical applications of the Buddhist teachings, it is the foundational concept that asks us to be fully present and aware in the current moment. And the Buddha taught that cultivating mindfulness is essential for developing wisdom, for developing compassion, and ultimately achieving reduced suffering. And so he outlined, as I mentioned a moment ago, five key components or faculties of mindfulness. And I'll go through each one separately, but they are attention, awareness, what he called ardency, concentration, and discernment. And the first of these is attention or observations. The Pali word is sati, S-A-T-I. And this is what we often talk about when we talk about mindfulness. It's directing our attention to the present moment, to our experience, our sensations, our thoughts, emotions, whatever is arising, but without getting caught up in it or carried away by them or entangled in any of those experiences. In other words, by not being reactive to them, by either grasping them if they feel pleasurable or pleasant, or pushing them away if they're unpleasant or negative. And whether we're focusing on the breath or our bodily sensations or sounds or a mental phenomenon, we're just simply attentive to what is arising moment to moment. We're just watching it arise. So that's what the Buddha called attention or sati. The second component is awareness. And this means having a clear recognition of what we are observing as it arises. This extends beyond mere attention. While attention is focusing on the present moment, awareness involves a broader understanding of what is being observed. In other words, it's the recognition and acknowledgement of the nature and context of the experiences that arise. So this is how we begin to see patterns of thoughts, patterns of behavior, mental habits that we call them. And one of the things that we especially begin to notice with awareness is the impermanence of all things that we bring our attention to. So I'm focusing my attention, and then I bring awareness to what's arising, and I begin to see the impermanence that all these experiences, whether thoughts, feelings, sensations, emotions, arise and then pass away, arise and pass away. So primarily awareness is about impermanence, but it's really about the nature and context of whatever, and more broadly of whatever is coming up. And what awareness does, it fosters a deeper understanding, helps us see the causes and conditions that shape our experience. We begin to, it goes beyond just paying attention to perceiving and understanding the object of mindfulness. So if I'm focused on a feeling that arises, I sort of sit with it, I watch it arise, I watch it pass away. I may see it as a recurring pattern in my life or whatever. That's the awareness part. So, for example, if we're doing mindfulness of our breath, we're not only attentive to the breath, but we're aware of the characteristics and the nuances of those inhalations and exhalations as they occur. Excuse me. The third component of mindfulness is what has been translated as ardency, which refers to diligence, dedication, and enthusiasm that's needed to sustain mindfulness. Ardency is the energy and effort that we put into sustaining mindfulness, and this is especially necessary when we're faced with distractions or challenges. So, another way I like to think of ardency is as persistence. It's the driving force that keeps our sort of the energy that keeps our practice alive and effective. It takes effort, it takes perseverance, it takes ardency to keep redirecting the mind back to the present moment when it wanders. If we just sort of let it wander and we get sort of complacent and lazy, absent the ardency, absent the persistence, then our mind is just going to wander off. So it's that sort of energy or commitment to keep and perseverance to keep redirecting the mind back to the present moment. And the thing with ardency is it fuels the continuity of practice. So there's a continuity because we keep coming back to the breath or the object of awareness. Even into having just talked about three of them, you begin to understand how incredibly insightful the Buddha was in really dissecting this whole experience of mindfulness. I mean, the guy was a genius in terms of how he broke this stuff down. It never ceases to amaze me. The fourth aspect of mindfulness is concentration. This is called samadhi in the Pali, and it's the ability to maintain a steady, unwavering focus on the object of mindfulness, typically the breath. And this is what comes with lots of practice. It's the fourth component. It refers to the ability to maintain a focused and undisturbed attention on the chosen object of experience. What we find is the longer we've been meditating, the more we can achieve this concentration, the less the mind tends to wander. It's really the result of lots of training of the mind through our practice. Through sustained concentration, the mind becomes steady and unified. And this really allows for deeper states of meditation, deeper experiences of insight. And this concentration enhances the quality of our mindfulness because it reduces that mental scattering and monkey brain, and it promotes a certain clarity. And this is really when we start to see really the fruits of our efforts, because it's through concentrated practice that we can dig deeper into the nature of reality. We can gain profound insights into our experience. And as mindfulness becomes more stable, the mind becomes more unified, more collected, more concentrated, and really deepens the power of our practice. And then last but not least, the fifth and final component is discernment or wisdom. So we do all these other things, and then we end up really increasing our capacity for discernment, known as Panna, P-A-N-N-A in the Pali. And this is the wisdom and insight that arises from sustained mindfulness and concentration. Okay. The ability to see things as they truly are, free from delusions, free from misconceptions, free from our stories that we've been talking about in the last few weeks. Discernment helps us understand the impermanent, the unsatisfactory, and the selfless nature of all phenomena. Okay, remember, those three factors of existence: impermanence, dukkha, and not self. So discernment helps us see those: impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and selflessness. And that's when we begin to really touch into the deeper truths taught by the Buddha. We really begin, because this is really the kind of root of the practice. This wisdom from this aspect of mindfulness is essential for breaking free of these cycles of suffering, where we just get into these habits of mind and repeat the same patterns, the same stories. With persistent mindfulness and concentration over time, we begin to see things more clearly as they are, not as we wish them to be. We talk about that all the time. It's like this now, not like I wish it were. And this wisdom recognizes the impermanence and satisfactoriness and selfless nature of all mental and physical phenomena. So discernment both arises from and informs our mindfulness. Okay, it's a very, very critical part of the practice. So, on our Buddhist path, these five faculties of mindfulness, we develop them, we strengthen them with meditation, and then we apply them to all aspects of our life outside of formal meditation. We take them with us day to day through our lives. And keep in mind that each component plays a distinct yet interconnected role. So they're interconnected, even though they're separate, all of which, in terms of interconnection, contribute to the development of this mental clarity, seeing things clearly, of our emotional balance, meaning less reactivity, greater equanimity, and spiritual insight. So if we diligently nurture these factors, we really progress on the path. We realize how profound these teachings are and obtain some true freedom from excessive or unnecessary suffering. And so the end result is greater peace, more happiness, deeper wisdom. By cultivating attention, awareness, ardency, concentration, and discernment, we make progress on the path. We achieve freedom from suffering, and we realize the full benefit of the Buddhist teachings. This is why mindfulness is so central, and it's much broader and deeper than we normally just toss off the term. It's so indispensable as a tool for seeking true understanding, lasting contentment, and being able to be in the world with much less suffering. So those are the five aspects of mindfulness.